Wonderful. Welcome, everyone. Lovely to be here today. And Mr. Will, it's so nice to see you. So let's start talking about mining.
Okay.
I mean, mining is about becoming, as experts always say, the third pillar of the Saudi economy. And it is, as you know, the kingdom is really committed to investing in this industry. So demand for the critical minerals to power the energy transition is great, and it's growing. And it's witnessing exponential growth as well. So it is set to grow 3.5 times by 2030, I believe. So what is Ma'aden's role there? I mean, as one of the fastest growing natural resource companies, what are your role, and how are you leveraging the kingdom's $1.3 trillion of untapped minerals?
You got all the numbers. You just
Yeah.
so it's the fastest growing mining company in the world over the last 5 years, 27% annual compound annual growth. But that's not anywhere close to being enough. We want to grow this company 10 times by 2040 on a base against 2020. So that's internal to the kingdom. So that means we need to triple our phosphate production, quadruple our gold production, double our aluminum production, and take advantage of those vast mineral resources that we think is under the sands. In addition to that, we've got one copper mine that we operate with Barrick. We want to expand into copper, find out what else is out there in terms of nickel, lithium, zinc, cobalt, the transition metals. So all of that's inside the kingdom. Then we're also looking external to the kingdom with our joint venture with the PIF, called Minera Minerals, to source the critical minerals essential for the downstream development. Iron ore for the steel industry in the kingdom, copper, nickel, and lithium for electrification, EV, automotive in the kingdom. So we've got a full court press, both organically, inorganically, inside the kingdom and external to the kingdom, to help make this transition happen.
Wonderful. So you are exploring. You have one of the biggest exploration projects as well.
I like to say it, and I'm not sure I can absolutely validate it, but we are the single largest exploration program in any jurisdiction globally right now.
I've seen that in some reports,
Yeah,
yes. So I can concur.
Yeah, so we've stood up an exploration function that has cut the cycle time from starting exploration to discoveries in half, and we'll be announcing some discoveries, inshallah, within the next couple of months that are pretty significant in terms of what we already operate in and some other things. So we're already yielding results, but we've partnered with Ivanhoe Electric out of the U.S. We've partnered with Barrick out of Canada to bring the right talent, expertise, to put the full court press on seeing what really is available in the kingdom.
And perhaps that's how you could contribute in growing the kingdom's economy as well?
It's one way. I mean, we're certainly going to leverage any exploration success to build additional mines. So we know we've just finished commissioning Mansourah Massarah, the largest gold mine in the kingdom. We've got at least 2 more gold mines on the planning board right now before the end of the decade.
Yeah.
We've just approved a major expansion of our phosphate business, so we will add 3 more million tons of phosphate fertilizer production to our base by 2027. We're breaking ground on Phosphate 3, that's the name of the project, by the end of this year. So we have significant growth in the pipeline, and we're executing on it already.
Wonderful. So I guess those steps are also significant in growing Ma'aden as well. I mean,
Absolutely.
you said you're not even close to your goal and
Right.
the growth of Ma'aden.
We're just
So what
getting
steps
started.
are you taking?
So like I say, Phosphate 3 is the next phase of our phosphate business.
Yeah.
If you talk to Hassan Ali right there, he wants to do Phosphate 4 and Phosphate 5.
Yes.
So we've got 40 years of phosphate reserves. We want to take advantage of that. We've also got 40 years of bauxite reserves. So we've got a significant aluminum business already, and we've got expansion plans for the existing smelter with a new smelter potentially on the drawing board before the end of the decade. And then, like I said, our gold business, we will more than double our output of gold by the end of the decade. So
All that is wonderful. However, it does not come without any challenges.
correct.
And I mean internal challenges in the industry, but then also external challenges that also affect decision making and affect, I suppose, the growth of the mining industry. Now, I'm talking about, of course, sustainability concerns. I'm talking about market immunity. I'm talking about political instability as well. So how is Ma'aden, or in general, in your prospect, the mining industry can wiggle its way through all those challenges?
So the first thing we're trying to do is decide how to pay for this. So, our balance sheet, because we're a fast-growing mining company, our balance sheet was taxed coming into the last couple of years. Fortunately, we've been able to pay down debt, de-lever the balance sheet, conserve cash, and we just recently got an investment-grade credit rating, so we can access the international debt markets to finance this growth in a responsible manner. So we've got the balance sheet right, we've got the cash on hand, so we figured out how to pay for it. That's the big challenge. Second big challenge is organizationally, how to get this organization ready for the tremendous growth that we have. Now, I have no doubt about the talent and abilities of my Saudi team, but when I got here, they were compressed with bureaucracy, slow-moving decision-making, layer upon layer of needless management. So I kind of feel like we've liberated the talent that we've got in the organization. We've taken out 4 or 5 management layers. We've given more decision-making. We've distributed P&L responsibility to 3 business units. So we're getting the organization right to take advantage of this tremendous growth we've got ahead of us.
Wonderful.
And then you look at the external factors, like you talked about, sustainability. We are going to be an ESG role model for the kingdom. We've committed to carbon neutrality by 2050, and we're already taking steps in that regard. We've signed agreements for the largest photovoltaic solar energy plant in the kingdom to power our alumina refinery, steam generation. We're currently the largest blue ammonia exporter globally. We've reduced groundwater water consumption significantly in the last year, so we're taking all of those necessary steps. But I think what I'm most proud of, and I would think the team probably is too, is the S side of ESG.
Yes.
Part of our job is to build an ecosystem for mining. And so we are heavily focused on education and educating a pipeline of young Saudi talent who want to join us for this tremendous growth over the next 15, 20 years. So we've currently got 2 schools of excellence in the northern border region.
Lovely.
And we just recently announced we're opening a 3rd exclusively for girls.
Oh, wow.
We're a significant sponsor of Saudi Mining Polytechnic, a technical and trade school for mining talent in the kingdom. And then we've just recently signed a huge endowment with KFUPM to start the first mining degreed program in the kingdom.
Any certain regions focused with the training and education?
Well,
programs?
we started in the northern region, and now we're across the country.
Very nice.
So we want to attract and make sure people know this is not a cold, dirt, or hot, I guess, dirty, dark industry. We are requiring talent, technology, innovation, artificial intelligence, machine learning, automation. So we're trying to spark a fire in Saudi youth about the potentials in mining. This is not going underground with a pick and a shovel anymore.
And how do you see that working? Is there any?
I think it's great. We were recently up talking to the Saudi Mining Polytechnic group. First inaugural class for young ladies was there, and they were teaching me how to drive heavy dump trucks.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. So,
okay.
Once people see the opportunities available and see that they're making a contribution, not only to the kingdom, building the 3rd pillar of the economy and the importance of mining here, but also what it means for the world. We get a lot of press right now. You talked about what we need for minerals to make the energy transition.
Yeah.
We need 5 times as much production of critical minerals between now and 2050 to reach UN climate goals.
And I'm sure you have a plan for that, to reach that.
We're going to do our part, but globally, the world needs to find 5 times as much copper, nickel, lithium, zinc, et cetera, to make this happen. So for kids that have a sustainability bent and an aspiration to do something more, we can certainly accommodate that. You want to do something more and help your country, we're going to be the third pillar. You want to help the energy transition globally? Here we are.
Yeah.
So we've got a pretty good value proposition to attract talent.
That's pretty interesting. And mining is one of the most important fields. I mean, it's the biggest sector Saudi is investing in. So we are looking forward to having those fruits, I suppose, of the mining industry that ADEN is also contributing to. So let's talk a little bit about value chain. I mean, Saudi looks to develop value chains such as EV value chain, for example. And to what extent can ADEN and the domestic mining industry, I suppose, support this?
Right. Yeah, so I think it was about last year at this time where the Crown Prince announced a supply chain resiliency initiative for the kingdom. We are perfectly positioned globally, right in the middle of the map, with access to markets, access to ports. So we're well positioned from a geographical standpoint to be resilient and have supply chains that can manage risk. So what we're doing is, as the kingdom diversifies its economy away from oil and gas, or in addition to oil and gas for the next couple of decades, and stands up an automotive industry, a steel industry, an aerospace industry, we're providing the minerals and metals that we can, based on what the geography allows us to. Aluminum obviously and copper, we already have that, but we've got to get more. So while we're exploring, we're also going overseas and taking positions in assets and mines that will give us offtake in the near term for the kingdom. So we started a fund with the PIF called Minera Minerals. And we recently announced our first strategic partnership and our acquisition of Vale Base Metals. So we're taking a 10% ownership stake in Vale Base Metals.
Lovely.
Which is the world's second largest nickel producer, a significant copper producer, with bases in Canada, Indonesia, and Brazil. So that's the first of many deals that we'll have with Minera Minerals to bring the minerals we need into the kingdom for supply chain diversification and resiliency.
And which commodities would you say you could produce in sufficient quantities?
I think aluminum, for one. We've got bauxite reserves for 40 years, like I said, so I feel very comfortable that we can continue to provide all the kingdom's needs in aluminum.
Okay.
In fact, about 85% of our current production output from our aluminum business is here in the kingdom. So as we continue to grow that, we've got all the aluminum we need. I think we're going to definitely need to go outside for copper, for lithium, for iron ore, without a doubt. So we've got a pretty realistic assessment of what we think is here and what we think we're going to need to source externally.
And to what extent is it necessary to look beyond KSA, as you mentioned? For example, with the copper and all the other.
Yeah, it's absolutely necessary. And that's why we've stood up the Minera Minerals investment fund.
And that would contribute to also whatever you explore and find within the KSA?
It'll be complementary. I mean, we've got the exploration program growing here, and then we've got Minera looking externally.
Okay. Now, with all the challenges the world is going through, now COVID, for instance, all the wars and all the instability the world is seeing today. How are you contributing when it comes to the fertilizing industry? I mean, you are one of the biggest exporters. And how are you helping support agriculture, value chains, and food systems around the world?
Yeah, so we're currently the third largest exporter of phosphate fertilizer globally. When Hassan gets his plant done in the next couple of years, inshallah, we'll be the second largest.
Wow.
So we take that very seriously. We're going to meet with, the Commerce Minister of India, which is one of our biggest customers today. So we are very sensitive to making sure we provide food security to India, Bangladesh, Eastern Africa, some of our major markets, which, we're sensitive to the challenges those markets face.
What would you say the major challenges are?
Well, we want to make sure it's economic. Obviously, we're a company that cares about profit maximization, but we also want to make sure the farmers are taken care of, and we're affordable and providing high quality fertilizer for the farmers with the most efficient yields. So we've got a delicate balancing act with food security. We take our job very seriously to deliver shareholder value, but we want to be sensitive to the farmers and our downstream customers.
You mentioned India and Bangladesh. Anything within the KSA? Yeah, when it comes to agriculture and food security?
Yeah, certainly we support the farms in the kingdom, but obviously it's not a huge agricultural nation. So, but what fertilizer they sell, what they need, we source it.
Lovely. Well, what would you say the most challenging, or looking forward, what are the biggest risks for the mining industry in general?
There's a couple. One is talent. We talked about talent in Saudi Arabia, what we're doing.
Yeah.
But if you think about the major mining hubs, South Africa, Australia, Canada, the number of kids that are entering the mining profession, majoring in geology, is diminished significantly. I mean, some of the major schools in Australia graduated 13 mining engineers last year.
Wow, that's...
So we've got to do a better job as an industry attracting young people and attracting them and retaining them and giving them a career that's interesting so that they stay. I think technology and productivity is a big challenge. We are never going to be able to provide the level of minerals the world needs for the transition if we do things the same old way. So if you think about from the time there's a discovery made till the time there's a mine around it, it's 10 to 15 years. We don't have 10 to 15 years to do that. We've got to figure out how to do it in 6 to 8 years. And the only way you're going to do that is through the application of technology and innovation.
Okay.
I don't have that answer, but I know that that's going to be required. So those are
So technology
some of the
up until now is not serving the mining industry as it should?
We haven't applied it yet.
Okay. And why do you think that? Because, technology is serving every industry and sector.
I've got a theory that there's a lot of mining executives that look just like me.
Okay.
They're my age. That's probably
All right.
part of that, and that might be part of the problem.
All right, but you think implementing technology within the industry would speed up the process of...
It has to, yeah. I mean, we've seen it here in Modern. Just in 2 years' time, when we've unleashed the power of our innovation team and our exploration team and our partnerships, we've cut the cycle time from starting an exploration program to discovery by 10 years.
Wow.
By using our partners' technology and access to some of their data, we've cut 10, 15 years off of the normal cycle time.
Yeah.
That's just scratching the surface. So we've got to think differently. We've got to collaborate better together. We've got to apply cutting-edge technology. I don't even know what artificial intelligence really means, but the smart people in the room do.
And it should help in a way or another, right?
Yeah, and they're applying it.
Yeah.
Processing some of the sampling data, the seismic data that we're getting from the ground, and getting turnaround times much, much faster.
Well, I know you mentioned education programs. What other ideas or approaches might you think attract young people to the mining industry, to study agriculture in school? I mean, it's not something we hear every day that, somebody wants to study agriculture.
Well, so we've got a general view that if you want to be part of the third pillar, absolutely. If you want to help solve the world's climate issues, absolutely, we've got that. But people that I work with, that I see on the ground, want to have a career path. They want to be challenged. They want a learning and development program. They want a competitive package, obviously. But for me, it's giving them challenges, giving them a clear career progression, taking care of them to the umpteenth degree, making them feel like they've got a home here. So it's really some of the basics in place.
Wonderful. And now you mentioned how your plans to grow and the goals for 2030, 2050, and the transformation to green energy and the green initiative as well. Do you plan on continuing the growth in the same pace you're going today?
No, I think it's going to be exponential. You start thinking about when we start adding huge blocks of, when phosphate 3 comes along, 50% growth in our biggest business like that. If we build another smelter, a 33% growth of our second largest business like that. We'll double our pace, our gold business this year. So we are not adding incrementally, we're adding in chunks.
Lovely. And now to conclude, and since we have plenty of Ma'aden's employee here, what would you like to say to them?
Thank you.
That's it.
They make my job easy. I get work done through these folks, and they're doing a great job.
Wonderful. Lovely to be here, everybody. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you so much for this conversation as well.